You had invested quite a bit in gold. Since we spoke, I think gold has climbed from 2,900 an ounce to 5,200 an ounce. What's your view on what's gone on with gold and how it relates to the market's acknowledgement of the stage that we're in?
It's the big cycle. And what you have to understand is that gold is not a precious metal that's speculated on, like most people have come to think of it as. It is the most established money, that it's the second largest reserve currency that central banks hold. And so what we've seen is, for various reasons that I've pretty much covered, the economic, the supply demand, the political, the geopolitical, for those reasons, central banks themselves have acquired gold to build that up. And individuals and others are looking for an alternative money. The question is, what is money? Mechanistically, money is debt. When they have too much debt, is to print money. Okay, so if you've got that down, okay, then you can understand what's happening. If one country's central bank or government wants to pay another government, it can't just be in fixed assets like buildings. Okay, if you want to transact, you have to transact in something that you can transfer to them, and so on. And gold is the only asset. It's a long-term historic asset for reasons. That means that it can be transferred. They can't print a lot of it. And it is not dependent on somebody giving you something. And what we've seen is that there's an enormous amount of wealth, and there was an enormous amount in central banks of the other money relative to hard money gold. And so we've seen about what I would call it go from an extremely small number to something that is a less small number. That price increase and that change in composition has brought it almost, not quite, but almost toward the average of what it's been over a period of time. So being out of balance. However, because the total wealth is still so large relative to money, that's a real issue. So anyway, all I'm saying is people should worry, and companies should worry, or countries should worry. Do they have enough gold? I mean, if you didn't know what gold was likely to do, and you had no view on gold, one should have between 5 and 15% of their portfolio in gold, because of the fact of how it works with the other components. In other words, it's a diversifier when the shit hits the fan. Okay, gold does well and the other things don't, generally speaking.
Why hasn't Bitcoin performed in the same way? In the same period that gold's climbed 80% since we last talked, Bitcoin's down 25%. And why that hasn't played the role that many thought it was going to play, which is the safe haven asset.
There's an important differentiating characteristics of Bitcoin. Okay, so Bitcoin does not have privacy. Any transactions can be monitored, indirectly, perhaps controlled. Central banks are not going to want to buy Bitcoin and being able to hold it. So it's not just individuals, it's institutions and so on, but most, and central banks. There has been some question or thoughts of the development of, new technologies like quantum computing and so on. Can there be issues regarding that? And then there's, who owns it and what are the other exposures that they have in their portfolio. It tends to have a pretty high correlation with the tech stocks. So from an ownership, just the supply demand is affected by, if somebody gets squeezed in one thing, they sell something that whatever else they have. I think a lot of attention has been given to Bitcoin, but as a money, it's small in relationship
What about silver? I mean, silver's had a big run up in the past year as well. Is that a derivative to gold? And it's effectively people playing off of the wake of gold's price movement?
Silver in its production is a residual commodity. The supply of it is difficult to increase. So, people are, hot in it because it's been hot.